You know that big metal box humming away outside your house? Your HVAC system. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind, right up until it quits on the hottest day of the year. So today, we're going to decode its secret language, its warning signs, and really empower you to make smart moves when it's on the fritz. Okay, let's get into it. Seriously, think about that for a second. When the heat is just relentless, your AC isn't just a nice to have, is it? Nope. It is pretty much the beating heart of your home, making the space livable and healthy. In a lot of places, it is absolutely the hardest working appliance you own, hands down. And this is exactly why. In a place like Sweetwater and Miami-Dade, you're not just fighting off heat, you're fighting a constant, sticky wall of moisture. That 1-2 punch puts an unbelievable amount of stress on cooling systems. A breakdown isn't just an inconvenience, it can be a real health hazard, especially for the little ones and for older folks. So, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with why the climate is so tough on these systems. Then we'll get into the warning signs, what they actually mean, what your options are, and tackle that huge question. Do you repair it or replace it? And finally, we'll talk about why professional standards are so important. Okay, let's dig into the root of the problem. You know, a lot of the time, the biggest enemy of your HVAC system is just the world outside your window. That constant battle against heat and humidity, it just wears things down in some very specific ways. And here's where it gets kind of wild. It's how all these things create a perfect storm. That high humidity, it's a breeding ground for mold and algae that can totally clog up your system. The extreme heat means the machine is running almost nonstop. Then you throw in salty air from the coast, literally eating away at your outdoor unit. And if you put all that in an older house with old, leaky ductwork, well, you've basically got a recipe for disaster. So you can see how all that environmental stress starts to build up. And eventually, it starts showing up as problems you can actually see, feel, and even hear. Think of these as distress signals your house is sending you, letting you know that its most vital organ is in trouble. Ugh, this one. It's the most obvious and just plain frustrating sign of them all. The system is running, you can hear the fan blowing, but the air coming out is lukewarm. It's working its tail off but achieving nothing. That's a huge red flag that a really critical part of the cooling process has completely failed. Nothing gets your attention quite like seeing a puddle of water forming around your indoor unit. I mean, in humid climates, your AC is pulling gallons of water out of the air every single day. That water is supposed to go down a drain line, but when it doesn't, that means there's a clog, and that water has to go somewhere, which is usually your floor. Now, this one's a little sneakier, but it's just as serious. If your habits haven't changed, but your electric bill just keeps climbing higher and higher, well, that's often your HVAC system screaming for help. It's losing its efficiency, so it has to run longer and harder, just burning through electricity to try and keep up. You ever notice your AC do this thing where it kicks on, runs for maybe a few minutes, then shuts off, and then does it again and again? That's called short cycling. It is incredibly damaging to the compressor, which is the heart of your system, and it means your home never actually gets properly dehumidified. It's a really bad sign. Okay, so those are the symptoms, but what's the actual disease, right? Let's connect those warning signs to the actual mechanical failures that are probably happening. Getting this part right is the key to not getting taken for a ride when you call for service. This chart makes it super clear. That warm air problem, it usually points to a refrigerant leak or a compressor that's on his last legs. Those water leaks we were just talking about, almost always a drain line that's clogged up with gunk. High bills can often be traced back to dirty coils that can't do their job or leaky ducts that are just cooling your attic. And short cycling? That's often a small, cheap electrical part called a capacitor. Or the system might have been the wrong size for your house from day one. All right, so once you know what's wrong, you've got a decision to make. There are really 3 main ways to tackle an HVAC problem, and the right one for you really depends on the situation, your budget, and what your long-term plans are. So your choices usually boil down to one of these 3. An emergency repair, which is like a Band-Aid to fix the immediate problem. A full system replacement, which you do when the unit is old or the repair is just too expensive. And then there's the one we often forget, preventative maintenance, which is all about stopping these problems before they even start. But look, no matter which path you end up on, a professional service call should always be straightforward and transparent. It starts with you calling for help. Then they should give you a clear diagnosis and a firm price that you have to approve before they touch anything. And it all ends with the repair and a full system test to make sure it's working perfectly. And now we come to the toughest question most homeowners have to face. Your system is down. The repair bill looks scary. Do you just patch it up one more time? Or is it finally time to invest in a brand new one? Well, there's actually a simple rule of thumb that can help.
It's called the $5,000 rule, and it's a super handy little calculation. All you do is take the age of your system in years and multiply it by how much the repair is going to cost. It's a really quick way to see if you're about to pour good money into a sinking ship.
Let's just use the example from our source material to make it real. Let's say your system is 12 years old and it needs a $500 repair. Okay, so 12 times 500, that's $6,000. And since that number is over the $5,000 threshold, the rule is basically telling you that a full replacement is probably the smarter financial move in the long run. And this really gets to the heart of it. The whole point of the rule is to stop you from just throwing money at a dying system. It's not just about today's repair cost. It's about all the future repair bills, the awful energy efficiency, and the fact that you're just delaying the inevitable. A new, efficient unit will often save you a ton more in the long run. Okay, one last thing, and this is absolutely crucial. Let's talk about what protects your investment, whether it's a small repair or a huge replacement. It's all about making sure the work is done right, and just as important, that it's done legally. Look, in a place like Miami-Dade, these aren't just suggestions on a checklist. They are the law. Technicians have to be EPA certified to handle refrigerant. A new system requires a permit. That permit then triggers an official inspection to make sure it's up to code. And because it's a hurricane zone, the outdoor units have to be physically strapped down. Cutting corners on any of this stuff is a massive risk. And that's the real bottom line here. Following the code isn't about red tape or bureaucracy. It's about making sure the work is safe. It's about keeping your manufacturer's warranty valid, and it protects the value of your home. Trust me, unpermitted work can turn into a giant headache when you try to sell your house. So, as we wrap this up, I'm just going to leave you with this one question to chew on. After everything we've talked about, do you see your system as a valuable asset that you need to protect? Or is that just an ignored appliance in your backyard, a liability just waiting to happen? The choice is really up to you.